At the beginning of the web, all web pages were coded by hand using HTML. If you wanted a website, you'd have to learn how to write HTML, learn about FTP to put your files online, and learn about web hosting in order to get a site posted. Then along came some of the world's first no-code options for creating websites. Microsoft FrontPage and Macromedia Dreamweaver were among the first visual editors for creating web pages. They automated posting sites to web hosts and allowed editing without having to learn HTML. These types of tools carried us through the early days of the web. However, by the early 2000s, demand was growing for a system that would allow clients to create their own content online without involving an HTML developer. Big news sites like CNN had tools like this called content management systems. However, they cost millions of dollars and had a very small market as a result. Around this time, Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress were born as the first open-source content management systems. The software was free, but you had to install it on your web host yourself. You could configure the software to do what was needed within various limits. These systems became wildly popular, taking over much of the internet. Indeed, today WordPress alone powers 40% of websites, according to W3 Techs. As for sites running any content management system, WordPress runs 65.1% of those sites. WordPress remains popular to this day as a low-code tool for building websites. Early in the 2010s, a new world opened in JavaScript and in web browser technologies, such that more complicated interfaces could run in the web browser. These advances powered a third wave of no-code tools for building websites. In 2021, these tools are finally coming to fruition as serious contenders for building the next generation of websites. With hundreds of millions of dollars in venture capital funding, this third wave of no-code web design tools is opening web design and web application development to those with little or no technology background or knowledge of HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. Furthermore, these no-code and low-code solutions are making their way to professional development as well. Designers are building interfaces with Webflow, for example, then turning their designs over to developers to add all kinds of additional functionality. It's still early days for no-code and low-code solutions. Many of the companies behind these technologies are small startups. There's lots of mergers and acquisitions happening, as well as people starting businesses and going out of business. There's lots of venture capital money floating around. It will take a few years for these technologies to become more stable, but it's worth looking at the kinds of problems these tools are solving today with an eye towards that future. Finally, I wanted to bring no-code tools to your awareness for two major reasons. First, if you become a professional coder, you're going to encounter these tools in your career. You'll be asked to integrate your code with them, add extra features and functionality for them, or write code like an API that's designed to be consumed by a no-code tool. But the second reason is this: not every problem on the web requires a custom-coded solution. Many problems may be solved with out-of-the-box software. This is the world that no-code serves best. These problems aren't less worthy of solutions requiring less work or less skill. They're simply problems that don't require the time, money, and resources of a customized programming team to solve them. This next chapter explores the types of solutions currently available to address everyday problems on the web. After all, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are actively monitoring this space. At Microsoft, a simple run of the numbers on how many apps will be built in the next 5 years shows how critical low-code and no-code software will become. Microsoft expects 500 million new apps to be built in the next half-decade, which is more than all of the apps built in the last 40 years. Charles Lamanna, Corporate Vice President of the Citizen Applications Platform at Microsoft, said, "If that's true, 450 million have to be built with a low-code tool. There are not enough humans to code fast enough to build that many. Professional developers should focus on harder challenges than another expense submission form or approval form." No-code may be viewed as an alternative path in web development now, but before long, it will be the primary path to getting problems solved on the web. Let's dive in and see what's happening in the no-code and low-code world today. Content management systems, or CMS, provided some of the earliest ways of creating websites that were editable by clients and provided lots of dynamic functionality. The big three open source CMSs remain Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress, with WordPress powering 40% of the web alone. Why is a CMS such a popular tool? Joomla, WordPress, and Drupal all were initially released in the early 2000s. They were intended for managing a large amount of content, as the name implies. Blogging was in its infancy, and a CMS offered an easy way to do this. Furthermore, clients had been asking for a way to edit their own sites without knowing HTML for years, and these open source CMSs were among the first easy and inexpensive ways of doing this. Quickly, though, the communities around these projects realized that their CMSs could expand their core programming to include additional functionality via their database. The terminology of these add-ons varies. Depending on the CMS, they're called plugins, modules, components, or extensions, but they all do the same thing. A CMS is great at managing individual articles and blog posts, but it doesn't do much else out of the box. Plugins allow you to add extra functionality to make a more complete website. Now your WordPress site may also sell products, run a course, manage event registration, or display a searchable database of movies. It may also do smaller things like include a registration form, manage a calendar, or run a community discussion forum. The best part about these extensions is that they are all compatible with their intended CMS. Click and install, and they're ready to go. The engineering is done so that the data may be passed around the system. For example, leverage the existing user login to create accounts for a shopping cart, for blog comments, and for event registration, all on the same website. However, in 2021, CMSs have their downsides as well. Because this technology has been around for a long time, their interfaces may feel a bit dated relative to other no-code technologies. Some users find CMSs very difficult to use or feel that they're missing critical features that are included in other software. Remember that Joomla, Drupal, and WordPress all predate mobile devices, social media, and drag-and-drop browser functionality. Some CMS characteristics cut both ways. For example, you must choose web hosting and install a CMS to use it in most circumstances. This gives you maximum control over site configuration, but it means that you are also responsible for backups, keeping the site secure against hacking, and updating the software as updates are available. There may be a pre-installed software as a service option available, as with WordPress.com. However, WordPress.com is not as flexible for configuration as downloading WordPress and installing it yourself. You have fewer choices of plugins and themes with WordPress.com and less access to customizing the code. Finally, bear in mind that just because a CMS can serve as a shopping cart doesn't necessarily make it your best option. Think of a CMS as a Leatherman multi-tool environment. A Leatherman may come with pliers and a screwdriver, but it may not necessarily be great pliers or a great screwdriver. Its biggest advantage is that it's small enough to carry on a tool belt, so it's always handy and available. For the best screwdriver, you may want to purchase a tool dedicated to that job. That's true of the next functionalities we'll look at. Dedicated shopping cart software may be a better fit for you if you're selling products, for example, but it's not going to offer the flexibility of running an online course on the same website. If your website is selling something, you'll probably need to deal with a shopping cart somewhere along the way. There's a ridiculous number of options. Shopping carts are integrated with some site builders like Squarespace or Wix. You can send people to Amazon or Etsy to buy your products using their shopping cart. You can use a plugin with your CMS to set up a shopping cart. However, if shopping is the focus of your website, you'll likely want to use dedicated shopping cart software. While products might not be the only items on the website, they make up the majority of the site's content. You may also have a need for inventory or shipping assistance. The big players in this space for small businesses who want an easy, no-code interface are Shopify and BigCommerce. Both of these carts offer no-code solutions to selling online. You'll pay a monthly fee to access lots of reports and integrations with this type of software. Most carts like this will offer several different payment methods. You may take payments through PayPal, Stripe, Apple Pay, or many other methods, or you might have your own merchant account for accepting credit cards. Usually, any of these methods will be integrated with these shopping carts. However, if there's a payment method that's critical to you, you will want to check to make sure it's supported. Likewise, most carts will also support a variety of shipment methods. You'll get to decide if you want to offer overnight, 2-day, or ground shipping, as well as the shipping company or companies you want to work with. You'll decide flat rate or incremental shipping as well. Most carts can configure whatever you want in this regard, but as always, double check to make sure that your desires are supported before finalizing your shopping cart software. As far as inventory management goes, you'll need to think carefully about this aspect of your site. Shopping carts can do this, although it may not offer all of the features that you desire. If you have a separate inventory system, you'll want to make sure it will integrate with the shopping cart you choose. Because administrative workflows are particularly customized in a shopping environment, even more than with other types of software, you'll want to think carefully about payments, shipping, and inventory management in addition to the cart itself. Fortunately, no-code tools can help make this task a little easier. Most websites are just a few pages. All of those portfolios and personal sites, basic business and nonprofit listings, startups and projects out there have relatively small, straightforward websites. But small and straightforward doesn't mean generic. You still want to choose your colors, fonts, layout, and message when building the site. You may want that image carousel or blog functionality or a simple shopping cart for a few products. You don't have a graphic designer or a programmer on hand, just yourself. And of course, you need the site built yesterday. If any of those characteristics resonate with you, you might want to look at some of the simple website builders out there. They will offer all of those features, plus a few extras you might not anticipate. Squarespace, Wix, and Weebly are three of the big players in this space. They offer a no-code way of building a simple website with basic features, with your choice of theme, colors, fonts, and layout, specifically created with the non-designer and non-technical builder in mind. These builders create websites that work on desktops, tablets, and mobile devices. They usually offer some type of search engine optimization, a contact form, and pages for text and images for their basic plans. At an additional cost, you can often add features like an email newsletter and subscription capability, shopping cart, interactive calendar with event subscription, and other features. Increasing monthly fees often also include priority support or a custom domain name for the site. The exact details will vary with each site builder. Wix and Weebly offer free accounts, while Squarespace offers a free trial. These accounts should give you enough time to evaluate the right tool for you. It's worth trying all of these to determine which interface feels most comfortable and intuitive for you, and so you can choose the right design for your site. The downside to these builders is that they typically aren't completely customizable. You'll still get a very nice looking website, but you won't get every whim and desire addressed, as you might with a more expensive custom website. However, they're a great place to start your website quickly and easily. If your business grows, you may move towards a more complex solution. Squarespace, Weebly, and Wix all offer methods of exporting your site data to WordPress, for example. Today's site builders are easier to use than a content management system, and they offer a high-quality, semi-customized site that you can be proud of.